Welcome to Not Entirely Unlike Tea with Christine Collins. Hey there, it's Christine Collins, and today we have an interesting topic around why it is that when we clear physical spaces, we find ourselves having more energy, becoming more productive, and feeling as though some of the mental clutter has been cleared as well. Now, I've heard this many times before, and perhaps you have as well, but I recently had an experience of it myself, where tidying up a specific area, I had noticeably more productivity and energy in the days following, which was not what I expected because it took quite a bit of energy to do those tasks. And that left me feeling curious about how exactly our brains process taking in those visual elements when there's a lot of clutter. So our visual cortex is consistently processing everything that's within our field of vision, even the things that we may not be consciously paying attention to. A stack of papers that we see every day, so we kind of tune it out. But somewhere our brain is registering all of that visual data. And that creates what is known as cognitive load. It's basically using up mental energy just to process all of the visual information that's in your environment. And particularly when things are scattered and disorderly, it's more complicated for our brain to take in all of that visual information. And all of this is kind of happening at a subconscious level. We may not necessarily be actively aware of the work that our brain is doing to consume that information. And there are some indications that living in a very cluttered environment can actually cause higher levels of cortisol, or stress hormone, throughout the day, and it can remain elevated even when not directly looking at or thinking about that mess or that clutter. It's almost like having a background app constantly running in the background, slowly draining the battery without even realizing it. When we begin to organize and tidy up the spaces and declutter, we're not just physically organizing those objects, we're actually allowing the brain's default mode network to function a little bit better. Our default mode network is responsible for things like creative insights, problem solving, and forming connections between ideas. And when that environment around us is very cluttered, the default mode network kind of gets hijacked. So instead of being able to focus on creative processing, it's as if it's being interrupted by all of that visual stimuli. And it ends up feeling like unfinished business to the brain. Subconsciously, the brain is tagging that pile of unfinished papers as something that needs our attention, even if we're currently focusing on something else. So when we clear that up, we're freeing up that neural network to be able to focus on its other tasks. And this helps to explain why we might feel more focused or more creative after clearing up visual chaos. All of these effects can be even more pronounced for neurodivergent brains because our brains already are working harder to filter out distraction, and that addition of the visual clutter amplifies some of those challenges and can make it even more difficult to focus. It can also create sensory overload, which taxes our nervous system, and that goes even beyond just the visual processing elements. Our brain also has a tendency to keep unfinished tasks kind of running in the background, and we're carrying around that sense of all of these unfinished projects or things that still have yet to be done. And when we're looking at those piles of unfinished things, our brain is unconsciously cataloging it as unfinished business, and that adds to the overall mental load or cognitive load. Each thing that we tidy up, organize, and put away, we send that completion signal to the brain, like closing the app down. And then it's freeing up our cognitive load for other things. And that might help to explain why I experienced higher productivity after tidying up some specific areas that needed it. Perhaps you've had that experience as well. It doesn't even have to be tidying up the area that you're working in. Tidying up any area that you consistently have visual access to can help to overall clear out some of that cognitive load and allow your brain to refocus again on whatever projects you actually want to be focused on. And then as a nice little bonus, in addition to all of these things, there's also a bit of a dopamine hit that comes from decluttering. Every time you make a decision about an object, to keep it, to donate it, to get rid of it, and then follow through on that decision, we get a little bit of a reward and we get a sense of accomplishment and motivation. And sometimes that can give us enough of a boost to move on to do more things. And that little dopamine reward can actually prime the brain for even more productive behavior. It's kind of like we slip into a mode of, oh, okay, we're being decisive today. We're getting things done today. And then the momentum builds and we can just keep moving forward with other things. And again, with neurodivergent brains, that can be particularly powerful as there's a heavy influence from dopamine reward, and that completion cycle of decluttering can offer it in a more healthy, productive way, as well as when we have a good organizational system, one that makes sense for us. And I don't believe that there is one cookie cutter way to organize. We're all a little bit different. But once we have a system going that works really well for us, where things have a clear purpose and place, it reduces that overall mental energy being spent on ongoing decision making about where things should go. So you can always start small. Everybody works differently, but tidying up even a small area can make a big impact on productivity, motivation, and overall feelings of satisfaction. I hope you found this interesting, and if you are seeking a little bit of extra support on this topic in particular, I do offer an active meditation on decluttering specifically in my Hypno-Pothecary membership. All of that material is available for you in the show notes. And until next time, I wish you the most magical and creative rest of your day. Thanks for listening. This is Christine Collins at transformcreate.com.